Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Drunken Tarrasque.
Where we don't have flying monkeys yet.
Time to make a note on that. Anyway, today we will be talking about how to make a great role-playing character. And for us, it comes down to two major styles, and we personally believe in a hybrid and a mixture of these two. And
two role-playing styles.
Yeah, two role-playing styles, just like two genders there are. Anyway, yes.
We're gonna get letters.
Good toilet paper anyway. But the thing is, there's two major styles of creating a character. Adaptive and static. Each one of them has their own advantages, disadvantages, and me as a player and DM seeing how players and DMs handle that style of creation and playing throughout the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think we can both agree that I think we favor a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
But first I think we should explain what they are.
Yes.
The static version is when you figure out everything about your character, their back, their history, everything, and a lot of their personality is already created. You can explain adaptive if you like.
Well, that's the thing is, One They Actually Systems, I think, is a very big proponent of static creation, meaning, and what we mean by, what I personally see as static is, you front load a lot of the creation, the mentality, the personality is L5R, and it comes down to a lot of the questions with what you need to do, and you kind of look at it already from the beginning, from point A that you plopped out of the womb, or egg in whatever universe you're in, to the point where the game starts. And you kind of have almost completely every little part of your life already figured out.
Well, a lot of little details, and I think it's mainly because L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, is really roleplay heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Much of what you're going to be doing is not going to be as much in the way of combat, because combat is so incredibly deadly that you're going to spend a lot more time trying to figure things out through diplomacy.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of other games are more hack and slash, and so you could actually go through a couple of sessions and not have much in the way of talking. And those tend to be the ones where it's more of an adaptive version. And so adaptive is when you kind of make up things as you go along. You've got your stats and everything, but you probably don't know exactly everything about their background. You may have a basic idea, but you don't have everything filled out. So you're just kind of making stuff up as you go along, based on things that come up in gameplay and things like that.
And one of the biggest things is, for at least I'm focusing specifically on D&D, the adaptive style, which I've seen, and this comes because I've had to play as a DM, is that what you need at most, or minimum, whatever you want to say, is that you need alignment. You don't even need a background, and just their stats. Like, that is or in their class, like, that is all you need for an adaptive character, coming to the table and knowing what world or style or universe you're in. Because if you just have those basic things, an adaptive character, it just essentially builds his character organically as the players play and whatnot. And each style has its enjoyments to it, because someone like me...
Yeah, it's got a lot of... They each have their pros and cons.
Yeah. I mean, for static, you do have almost everything figured out, so when you're playing that first session, or even a dry run, you're already kind of having the idea, oh, my personality is going to be more spunky, or I'm going to be more of a stoic character, or I'm going to be more of a warm, inviting type of personality who's always going to ask questions, or it's like you actually have this already thought out, and it front loads a lot of the work for playing these games. And it is a fun time to set out that birth to death type of idea, or birth to the point you're playing, because you start building it. Yeah, you start building a lot in your head.
Yes, I have a tendency to overthink things a great deal when it comes to my characters, but I think ultimately, this is just my opinion, I think a mixture of the two is best. And the reason for that is that you build a lot of these things, but you need to have room for your character to grow and to change based on different events that happen, because every time a lot of folks, they tend to think of a person or a personality as this static thing, but it changes based upon the different events that you come into contact with. Every time that something happens major, it changes you in some way, and so you have to be open for that if you want to be a little more authentic in your character building and your growth.
And that's the thing is with static. One of the cons I've always noticed as a player, as a DM, and it comes down to how a lot of the DMs and players handle this, but with a static character, and it all depends on how you play it, but sometimes I think I'm starting off as the soldier, a lawful good character. I'm going to be lawful good to the very end of the game, and that very well can happen depending on how you play it. However, sometimes, depending what the DM does or how you do it, a change in alignment can happen. It's natural and organic at times. Because it makes sense
I think it should be encouraged. I honestly think some of it should be encouraged based on the kind of game that you're in.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the biggest things I've even seen as DMs when they have a static point of view of characters in character development and role-playing is that they almost try to use alignment as a punishment if your character starts evolving in the way they weren't expecting or hoping for. I've even seen characters, and even mine was threatened with, you're acting in a way I don't like. If you keep this up, I'm going to take away your powers as a cleric. You're not being lawful good enough. You're not being a complete goody two shoes, or in a sense that's and to me it's like, my character's lawful good. He's helpful. He's doing all this stuff. How am I punished because I'm not lawful good enough? And yet again, here's one of the other negative parts about highly adaptive play, that I had another one who had another point of view of this. A lawful good paladin, well, that there's those out there, a lot of them, brutally killing people, enjoying making them suffer, opening about other fellow players committing evil deeds and actually helping them. And essentially, for me, a static character, a static DM, would be already yelling at this person, rightfully so. You're a lawful good paladin. You should be not having this. But the adaptive...
At that point, you're really not lawful good anymore. It's
exactly. It's that. This is the reason why understanding alignment change, but it's like an adaptive DM and an adaptive role-playing style. And essentially how I would look at this, if the DM is, if the player is actually, like this lawful good paladin I dealt with, was doing this, I would say, you're actually going down a path of evil. You got two choices. If you still want to play an evil character, let your character evolve into being a lawful evil character or just a evil character, but you're going to either be a fallen paladin or a hell knight of some sort. And this is why... For me, as a DM and as players, your character growth, if you do see your character going down an evil path, evolving down this is why adaptive, there's nothing wrong with it, but you got to realize that this can easily fracture groups. This is the other problem with highly changeable characters, is that if they don't have any foundational center, they'll constantly go through every stage, every alignment, or go into directions that will have the party at each other's throats.
I would think that at the point where you're making a lot of those decisions that are seemingly out of your alignment, like a ton of them in a row, it's time to have a conversation between the DM and the character to talk about possible change in alignment at that point.
Exactly.
Here's the thing, I'm not even all that static when it comes to alignments, because I think that you shouldn't be too much. You should understand that some of these things are on a spectrum. And, I mean, even a lawful good character is going to be on a spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to allow for some things that are, making a difficult choice. But it's ultimately how you feel about that choice that I think determines your alignment. Because your character, if they are lawful good and they do something that is evil, or they do something that is morally unjust, they should feel really bad about it. They should If they don't feel bad about it, though,
Mm-hmm.
that's the main difference.
Yeah, and
the good alignment should always feel bad if they do something bad.
Mm-hmm. And also actively make amends to not do said actions again, because as much as just the feeling that way, they need to actually make that. If the person goes, "I've been acting evil," and they want to still be that lawful good paladin, there's a lot of actions, and this is why this role-playing, making a great role-playing character, there's a lot of communication with the DM. You will always be talking with the DM, no matter what. You have to you literally have to talk. Now, if the DM says, "Hey, you're going down a path, and if you want to stay lawful good, you have to do X, Y, and Z," do really think about it deeply and say, "I want to think about this, give me a second." If they say, "No, I want to go down that evil path," they have to handle the consequences. And it's one of those things that a lot of bad DMs have a story in their mind, and they become, I always make the joke, static DMs, like, "No, it says lawful good in your paper. If you don't do lawful good, you're out of the group." You're going to have problems. Actually, one of the other things with adaptive, if you roll randomly for your character for all these start stats and charts, and this is one of my examples, I played in a Pathfinder game. I had rolled that I had a significant other. I was married. What I didn't like was, this was my new time. I didn't want any side characters. I wanted to be able to just focus on my own character build growth. Adaptively, I had been fighting undead. Random chance, my bipolar dice was rolling 20s and critting these guys with Warhammer. So I made it up adaptively on the fly to essentially write out one of my things that I rolled for. This is the power of adaptive. That the reason why I was getting so many criticals against undead was because this death was reminding me of my wife that I've loved for years is dying. And this is something very powerful. This is why you communicate with the DM. Downside, said DM was ultimately mad, yelled at me, and screamed, "There should be no reason why your wife is dying in this magical world because we have all these magical potions that can heal people." Trust me. This is why this is one of those frustrations of bad DMs. This is why I even communicated with him. He just steadfast, "No, I'm never going to let you do anything." I found out later on he didn't want to give anyone any freedom or choice to evolve their character. It was essentially, he had his story, he was railroading, it didn't matter anything.
Yeah. And there actually are static DMs like that. There are DMs that have very much in mind this very linear campaign. They do not want to go off from that line, that very linear campaign, that very linear story that they have in mind. They have this thought process that you are merely there to help them tell their story that they've had in their head for who knows how long. Where, I think a lot of people's perspective, or any sane person's perspective, would be, that tabletop is not so much about telling somebody else's story, but making up a story together. It's a collaborative thing. It's about, and that's where the fun comes in, because you don't know what's going to happen.
And this is why, when building a character, your best character you're ever going to build, is that understanding that both sides of the groups, the adaptive and the static building style, you're going to want to mix a good portion of these two ideas together. And if the game's a pickup game, almost universally always go for the adaptive, because you want to just play this game, belt it out, and have fun with it.
Yeah. And there's so much fun to be had, too.
And here's the other thing, is the more you play this, the more years you put in investment in this, the static style is going to be you're going to be able to create a static style character quicker, because you've done it so many times. You already know what you're going to go. You already know what direction you're going to go. And then once...
But you're going to leave enough room for there to be change for adaptive stuff.
Exactly. And that's what I've noticed, that after a little bit of playing, I started embracing the adaptive style, but kept it my foundation. And that's kind of the more important thing with the static. Know what your foundation that's never going to change within you. That is kind of the biggest part with static. Always find that core principle of your character that most likely will never change. Hell, you could easily have them go to evil, but essentially you find that core of, this is who they are if you break them down.
if you can break it down to a single idea
Mm-hmm.
or a single feeling, I think that helps to get you into character if you're doing adaptive. Because I was talking about last podcast how sometimes things like mannerisms and stuff can help you, but that's more of a static thing where you've already figured out a lot of
Mm-hmm.
these things. Sometimes a feeling or a theme can help you get into character if you're just going adaptive. Like I do that typically with the naming process. I'll try and pick a name that corresponds to how I think the character is, like who I think they are, or who I'd like them to be, and that really helps. I think the process, across the board. But that's just me. I'm weird about things like that.
And as I said before, each style, there's nothing wrong inherently with the style. It just comes down to making sure to make that great character is, because you're going to be playing with a group, how other people are building their characters.
Yeah, build with them.
Yeah, build with them. And that it's one of those themes you're going to hear constantly, probably whenever we speak, is that to build a great role-playing character, adaptive or static,
Together.
Yeah, build together every single
Build
time.
together, because it's going to be fun, because you'll be thinking, you're like, I don't know what the heck I want to do. They'll be like, oh, what are you doing? And they'll say like, well, I'm doing this thing, and they'll be like, oh, cool, oh my god, it would be great if we did this thing with this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. And then everybody's getting all excited, and so
Mm-hmm. Because
build together.
Because one of the other things with the static foundation of a group for building a great character, you're going to be playing with other people. It's why I hate Adventures League. I will probably do a rant on Adventures League in the future, but
I really do hate Adventures League.
yes, trust me, I will. You will be actually hearing a lot of unkind words in the future. But when you build together as a group, that your foundational point of how do you all connect? Why are you working together? Because if you do not have that for any group, even a purely adaptive group, that is almost the universal one stack. Why are we together? And why should we be together? You have that.
Gotta make up things.
Yeah, you got to make up things, but when you have that core, your games will most likely continue on and last for a good long time and have a good amount of fun.
One of these days, we're gonna have to do a game where we just decide randomly to be pirates or something.
Sky Pirates, oh god.
Oh, it doesn't have to be sky pirates. No, I mean regular pirates where we're on the ocean. Everything like that. We figure things out as we go. But then again, you'd probably be like, well, fuck you guys, Cthulhu's showing up.
Why did you read my mind? But ladies and gentlemen, building a
Or the
character.
Kraken.
Yes, the Kraken. Building a character. Remember, two styles, static and adaptive. Your best way is to blend it. There's good and bads with each. Have fun with it. Your core should be your character, who they are intrinsically, how do they relate to everyone, and the group always, how are we as a group relating together to build
Always
a great
create
character.
a theme. If
Yes.
you can't have the details, create a theme or a single feeling for the character, and that'll help you get into character for adaptive.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go.
Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please tell me what you think down in the argument
In the
box
comment
down
section below.
Yes, comment
And,
section below.
follow
Or
us on
argument.
Twitter.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter, SoundCloud, and any other place there is
And
out there.
YouTube. Yeah, and YouTube. And if you're looking for us, just in general, just Google the Drunken Tarrasque. Twitter, it's at a Drunk Tarrasque. On Twitter, follow us, subscribe, and we'll be with you.
Have a good day. May your dice roll high.
Yes.
And
night.
death to all tieflings!